as far as the business of boxing?
The best thing is a fighter needs to take almost everything.
You paid all that money and had the biggest stage in boxing on Netflix, and that is really the best they could do.
He knew that he could not beat Bud Crawford, which is why they basically paid him $100 million.
Canelo recently admitted on Joe Rogan's podcast that he took it easy on Terence Crawford after their fight. He revealed he didn't give his full effort in the ring, holding himself back intentionally. According to him, he fought at half pace, stayed flat-footed, and allowed Crawford to appear better than he really was. Canelo further explained that money and business played a major role in how the fight unfolded, openly admitting he was paid to ease off and not fight with his usual intensity.
Well, how does that work? Because it's not pay-per-view, so they still...
Netflix split up 20.
So they don't get no back end then.
So there's no back end. There's ticket sales.
Yeah, you know, pay-per-view, the back end is the most.
There's no pay-per-view.
I guess if you give me $50 million up front, I don't really care about the back end.
Canelo's admission confirmed what many in the boxing world had suspected immediately after the fight. Both fans and experts pointed out that his performance looked unusual and far from his normal style. He rarely used his jab, a weapon that has always been central to his success. There were no trademark combinations, no sustained pressure, and little of the relentless rhythm he's known for. Instead, he relied on single punches, often stood still, and showed no urgency as the round slipped away. The punch stats backed this up, marking some of the lowest numbers of his career. Initially, people blamed age or decline, but his confession changed the narrative entirely.
He don't have the punching power, but he has the skills that necessary.
Crawford.
Yeah.
So you were very impressed with his performance?
Well, yeah, you know, one of the matter is, I knew if it came down to if somebody got knocked out, I thought Crawford would probably get knocked out, but I know that.
Oscar de la Hoya was among the first to raise doubts about Canelo's performance. Just hours after the fight, he posted online, questioning what happened. What was that? I know Canelo was slow, but not that slow. And I know Canelo was weak, but not that weak. Did Canelo train, or was he paid to lose? For de la Hoya, who promoted Canelo for years and witnessed him sharp in countless training camps, the version that showed up against Crawford seemed completely unrecognizable. He argued this was not the Canelo he knew, and certainly not just a matter of age catching up.
When he got hit by Crawford and he took that deep breath, he's frustrated. Don't get me wrong. Canelo facing the right opponent that's going to stay in front of him, that's going to fight, that's going to make it a brawl, Canelo knocks him out. So I'm not saying Canelo's shot or done. No, it's far from.
Veteran fighter Gabe Rosado also shared his thoughts, criticizing Canelo's performance as flat and uncharacteristic. He noted that Canelo fought with heavy feet, threw no real jab, avoided combinations, and relied on single punches. According to Rosado, it looked like the kind of showing expected from a fighter long past his prime, not from an active champion still holding belts. His assessment aligned closely with Canelo's later admission. Rosado highlighted how, in past fights against Golovkin and other elite opponents, Canelo used sharp combinations, doubled up his jab, and applied pressure, none of which appeared against Crawford.
Watching Bud catch those shots off his glove,
he looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo. Ever.
Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is...
Clarissa Shields suggested that Canelo's body was simply breaking down. She believed he could no longer move effectively, couldn't put together combinations, and that his legs had given out, signs of a long career nearing its end. At the time, her observation seemed reasonable. Meanwhile, David Benavidez, one of Canelo's most vocal rivals, maintained his long-standing criticism. Even before the Crawford fight, he argued that Canelo carefully selected opponents who favored him while avoiding truly dangerous challenges. After the fight, Benavidez doubled down, insisting that Canelo had lost his hunger for risk and no longer sought out the toughest tests.
Have any advice for him for his boxing business?
Because, you know, the fighters always get the less money, and some of the fighters they need to take the money, the guarantee money, right? Because they don't make a lot of money in the fights, right? But they are as a fighter.
According to David Benavidez and many others, Canelo was mainly chasing the big payday. And while some fans were shocked, Benavidez claimed this was nothing new. In fact, he predicted Canelo would continue down the same path, prioritizing business over risk. Oscar de la Hoya, speaking of Fight Hype, offered a different perspective. For him, the performance was less about decline and more about style. He dismissed the idea that Alvarez is finished, but admitted the future depends heavily on matchmaking. Don't get me wrong, if Canelo faces the right opponent, someone willing to stand in front of him and brawl, he knocks him out, De La Hoya explained. I'm not saying he's shot or done. It's far from that. It's all on the matchmaking, on who you put in front of him. At this stage, it's about carefully managed fights and squeezing the last dollars from the fans.
You see, Canelo is a strong fighter, and every punch he throws comes with power, right? That breaks down the body. Physically, his body is breaking down. Plus, he just had a kid. Canelo wants to go enjoy his life. He wants to keep his wits, keep his mind together, stay sharp, and go enjoy a little bit of that money that he just made. But he could not pass the torch to somebody that didn't respect the game. Canelo's at the top of the list. But
Oscar de la Hoya argued that while Canelo can still compete at the elite level, his success now depends on facing styles that suit him. Eddie Hearn, however, views the situation from another angle. Speaking to Sports Illustrated, he highlighted the commercial and sporting appeal of a Crawford rematch. For Hearn, the real intrigue lies in whether Canelo can quiet retirement talk. Fans want to see if Alvarez makes adjustments or Crawford pushes him closer to the exit, he said. Hearn added that Canelo could surprise critics by altering his approach, noting the Mexican star has reinvented his style before and could develop a fresh skill set to truly challenge Crawford again.
Mac, you've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He's going to keep fighting.
Is he going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
In their first fight, Canelo started strong, controlling the early rounds with sharp counters that kept Crawford cautious. But the momentum shifted in the later stages. From rounds 9 to 12, Crawford took over, landing the cleaner shots and pushing Alvarez onto the defensive. Many felt that stretch decided the fight. Eddie Hearn believes that with improved tactics in the closing rounds, a rematch could deliver a very different result.
We already know, we knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit. No,
Chris Eubank Jr. expressed confidence in a rematch, calling it a massive fight and insisting Canelo still has the tools to rewrite the story. In his view, Alvarez's experience and power remain unmatched when used effectively. His stance echoed a belief many fighters share, that Canelo still possesses dangerous weapons but must prove his willingness to adapt. Trainer Robert Garcia also voiced support for the rematch, stressing that hunger would be the decisive factor. Speaking of Fight Hype, Garcia argued that if Alvarez regains the drive he once had, he could defeat Crawford. However, Garcia warned that Canelo must avoid the same strategic mistakes, urging him to apply his power consistently from start to finish rather than fading late. His perspective reflected a wider sentiment across boxing. Canelo's skill set remains, but his mentality will determine the outcome of his next chapter.
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But don't.
For Crawford, the victory over Alvarez, planned or not, has created new opportunities, but debate surrounds his next move. Some analysts believe he will steer clear of the most dangerous opponents. Fighters like David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, Diego Pacheco, and Bektamir Melikhaziv all present serious threats with their size and power, which could blunt Crawford's slick style. Taking those fights would be high risk with uncertain reward. Instead, many expect Crawford to target more marketable names that offer big paydays with less danger, such as Jermall Charlo or Hamza Shiraz.
a potential rematch, as a Canelo fan, I don't really want to see that. I don't think there'll be much difference. I don't think Canelo can bring anything to the table that's going to surprise Crawford. He's a different fighter now. If this was 10 years ago, yes, I think the fight could have gone a different way. But there's no point in even thinking that, because Canelo's a different fighter now. They fought today. They fought when Crawford is older as well, so I can't be trying to say, well, Canelo's not in his...
The business side of boxing is now front and center. Crawford's win has boosted his status, allowing him to command massive paydays. But his choice of opponents will determine how long he can maintain that leverage. On the other side, Canelo's decision is just as pivotal. An immediate rematch with Crawford would generate worldwide attention and prove his hunger for redemption. However, if he chooses a safer, more favorable matchup instead, it may signal that his career is moving toward its final stage.
Between Terence Crawford and Canelo, personally, I do not want to see a rematch. Usually rematches are in order when it's a very close fight and you can't really tell, which fighter won. There's a lot of close rounds, swing rounds. That wasn't the case in this fight. Terence Crawford won pretty handedly. I personally scored the fight 9-3. Being generous, you can give it 8-4.
Even though Canelo is being criticized for chasing money, many believe not even the biggest payday can save him from a position he put himself in by taking the Crawford fight. The reality is that modern boxing revolves around money fights. It no longer matters if a fighter is past his prime or visibly slowing down. If the numbers are massive, the fight gets made. That's exactly what happened here. Canelo was already showing signs of decline, but the Crawford bout was simply too lucrative to turn down. The problem, however, is that while the bank accounts grow, the physical toll doesn't stop. For Canelo, this fight may have been the one payday too many.
I'm buying. I risk my life in the ring, and everybody's making money too. It's not that they don't making money; they making money, but the fighter needs to make more than everybody.
Coach Ronnie Shields didn't hold back after Canelo's loss, openly saying he believes it's time for him to retire. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, Shields explained that what he saw against Crawford was enough to convince him it's over. He said there was no energy, no sharpness, and none of the old Canelo who could walk opponents down and dictate the pace. For Shields, this isn't a matter of changing trainers or adjusting tactics. It's simply father time. No coach alive can save Canelo now, he argued. Whether he fires Eddie Reynoso or hires someone new, it won't matter. His body just isn't responding anymore.
To have just one name at 160, 154, it's just hard for him, ideally, to just see a fight. No names resonating at the moment. Would you be okay to see him retire?
I would. Look, he's had a great career also. Yes, he's older, but...
Oscar de la Hoya offered a contrasting perspective, suggesting there may still be ways to extend Canelo's career. As a promoter, he argued that a change in trainers could help, even hinting that bringing in someone like Ronnie Shields might provide a fresh direction. But Shields dismissed that idea immediately, insisting the problem isn't coaching, it's wear and tear. He pointed out that Canelo has been competing at the elite level since his teenage years, enduring countless wars, intense training camps, and accumulated punishment. By contrast, Crawford has fewer fights, fewer grueling battles, and much fresher legs. Shields warned that Canelo's body is essentially telling him to stop, and the longer he ignores it, the worse the damage will become.
Yeah, look, the only thing I can tell him or give him advice in is get a new trainer. I can't advise him on retiring or staying in boxing. That's a very personal decision. But I can say, hey, get a new trainer. You'll do.
The signs have been hard to ignore. Since the Dimitri Bivol fight in May 2022, Canelo hasn't looked like the same fighter. Yes, he's been winning, but without the dominance that once defined him. He hasn't scored a stoppage, often fades late, and has faced opponents he could still handle despite slowing down. Against Crawford, things were different. He couldn't rely on size to bully, and when the fight went deep, his conditioning failed him. As Ronnie Shields put it, the body always tells the truth eventually.
If we see a fight where Canelo Alvarez looks old, and guess what? He's old. Right? And it might be a case of him being less than he was. And then
What caught many off guard was that Shields also offered advice for Crawford, suggesting even he should consider retirement soon, maybe after just one more fight. At 38, Crawford is still sharp, but Shields believes it's wiser to step away before the decline becomes visible. He even proposed that Crawford drop back down to 160, secure a title there, and then retire on top. Shields warned that staying at 168 is risky because the division is filled with younger, stronger, and hungrier contenders. He specifically pointed to Christian Billy, describing him as a relentless, non-stop puncher who doesn't allow opponents to breathe. Crawford could handle Canelo because Canelo slowed down and gave him room against a fresher, more aggressive fighter. Shields cautioned that same approach simply wouldn't work.
Floating around as a potential opponent for Canelo, but the big question has been, is Christian ready for that opportunity? Is he ready for the moment? Do you feel after this Saturday that you are ready for a fight with whoever wins the fight against Crawford and Canelo?
I'm born ready. Yeah, I'm born ready. Yeah. I'm born ready for this fight.
But retirement rarely matches reality, especially when huge money is on the table. Crawford is now the undisputed champion at 168 and one of boxing's biggest stars. That's why Turkey Alashik wasted no time stirring the pot, hinting at a possible showdown with David Benavidez by asking if he could still make 168. The message was clear. He wants Crawford versus Benavidez. It's exactly the kind of matchup that captures attention, sparks debate, and most importantly, has the potential to generate tens of millions.
You want to fight Canelo? Would you ever entertain a fight with the Mexican monster, David Benavidez? But you want Canelo. But you want Canelo.
You gotta understand. Like,
but I gotta ask you, bro, because I can't, you know?
My thing is, Benavidez is a big dude. You know what I mean? Not to say I won't fight him. I fought his brother.
Crawford has admitted he's considering his next move. In an interview with Ring Magazine on X, he said he plans to meet with his team to decide whether to drop to middleweight or remain at super middleweight. The issue with middleweight is obvious. There's little financial upside. The champions there, like Janibek Alimkhanuly, Arislandi Lara, and Carlos Adams, are strong fighters but lack star power. None of them can sell pay-per-views, excite fans in the US or UK, or convince Turkey Alashik to bankroll a mega event. While Shields is right that Crawford could secure a belt at 160, financially the move makes little sense.
Canelo. Turkey talking about it. Turkey hit it at that. He was like Benavidez.
Yeah, he
Turkey,
did.
So
Turkey just posted that this morning, wondering if Benavidez can make 168. Maybe he has plans or ideas of maybe trying to match up Benavidez and Terence Crawford.
No.
Maybe playing on.
That's why Benavidez is seen as the golden ticket. The only question is whether he can still make 168 comfortably, but if he does, the fight would be massive. Young, undefeated, and hungry, Benavidez has long been waiting for a shot at an elite opponent. Crawford, though older and smaller, has the skills that many believe give him a real chance, even with a size disadvantage. Online reactions were immediate. Some argue Bud would outbox Benavidez with ease, while others felt Benavidez's size and relentless pressure would be overwhelming. Either way, fans agree to the fight that absolutely needs to happen.
Need this fight. It's a storyline there. You beat my brother. I need that revenge. I'm the Mexican monster. You a pound for pound great. You coming up. Let's do it. If Terence Crawford beats David Benavidez, I don't even think he needs to fight Canelo. You automatically have to put Terence Crawford in top 5 or top 10 all time.
Other names are being discussed as well. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev at 175 remain possibilities. And if Crawford moved up and won there, it would be historic. Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz are still active at welterweight. But since Crawford already cleared that division, they don't carry the same intrigue. Sebastian Fundora is another option, though more of a wild card. The reality is that at this stage, the only fights that truly make sense for Crawford are those that generate massive interest and paydays. His legacy is secure. What remains now is chasing the biggest money.